Hello and welcome to all our viewers out there, all our subscribers. This is Records and Rants. My name is Ice, and with me, as always, is Dixon. How are you?
Ice, great to be back for another edition. Really excited about this show.
Yeah, it's a big one.
This is one of my last-ditch efforts to get you into this this band, which the listeners will find out. But yeah, speaking of subscribers, we got a couple new guys joining us, which is great.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, we are up to 30 subscribers now. This is a big milestone for us.
Definitely huge. Really great comment on our Rolling Stone video that I want to bring up.
Yeah. Let's. So, I'll say it one more time this season. But every single episode, Dixon and I go through the comments that we got in between episodes. So that's what we're gonna do right now. In the beginning of every episode, we do it. So, Dixon, you said you wanted to talk about some that we got on our Rolling Stone video.
Yeah, this guy Stefan Paris. He basically summed up everything we could have possibly said we did say in our Elvis videos.
Mm-hmm.
And his take on it was, it's a pretty long comment, so I'm just going to kind of sum it up here. Elvis Presley at spot 17. I mean, this guy could sing anything from rock to country, gospel, or blues in a single concert effortlessly. He had a deep voice, soulful voice when he wanted, and he can go pretty high notes at the same time. So no way Elvis is number 17. Don't tell me Dylan or Lennon are better vocalists than Presley because it's trash.
Wow.
And then he lists a bunch of songs to kind of show his range. And we mentioned that
yes,
not only is Elvis the king of rock and roll, but he's also the ultimate gospel artist. Live, powerful. We obviously know he's one of, if not the greatest performer of all time. But really, this guy has a really nice list that really kind of shows his range, and something we mentioned before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that was
sure.
that was a great comment for sure. I'm sorry, I was slightly distracted because I was looking through this other comment here.
Oh yeah.
About on the Joy Division video that we did.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a good one too.
Yeah, so Glenn Gaston Johnson, he said, when I was 17, the Smiths changed my world. When I was 20, Joy Division made me grow up. I thought that was pretty impactful. You know what I mean?
When I read that, I thought the same exact thing. Because you know what it's like? It's like, oh, this when you hear something for the first time, and I often wish I could go back and like view myself hearing stuff for the first time. And you have those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, this is what I'm all about. This is it. And then your taste evolves from then. And like he says, Joy Division made me grow up, which I think is just a really good thought, like you said.
Yeah, and I think it goes into Joy Division. It does kind of seem like a more mature kind of version of the Smiths almost. I think you're getting into more mature tones there,
for sure,
with Ian Curtis and everything. But yeah, no, that was a good comment. So thank you, Gaston, for that one. And one more we have from RMT Studios, and this was on our Madman's Eyes, our D&B single review. And the guy said, we were talking about how we didn't really like how D&B is like a kind of preachy kind of guy, but this guy said, I'm sorry, this isn't funny, but he said he lost his sister to gun violence, and I guess that's why he made the song. Now, I looked into this because I wanted to know, and it wasn't really gun violence. It wasn't a mass shooting kind of thing. It was domestic violence, and that's how he lost his sister back in '94. So I don't know. I guess you could kind of skirt the line and say it was gun violence or whatever. But I mean, to me, it's more domestic. But I mean, still, I get what he's saying. I understand it. So.
So are we issuing a formal apology? Maybe.
Well, I guess. I mean, I'm sorry that happened. Absolutely, and I didn't mean it. We didn't mean any offense by it, obviously. But I don't know, Dixon. What do you think? Do you think we should issue an apology on this one?
I think regardless of the context of it, we looked at the song itself.
Yes. Yeah.
And it wasn't. Yeah. We didn't say, oh wow, Dave Matthews should quit it and stick to lyrics. Or stick to whatever kind of his kind of shtick back in the early 90s.
Yeah, like love song kind of thing.
Yeah, love song, like you said. Yeah, love song, and that every day and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless, the context of it certainly brings some credence to the message.
Yeah,
but we did say we don't like when people, regardless of your side, if you're just kind of preaching at us, we don't go for that. We also didn't think the song was all that great, even given that context. So definitely something to consider. Definitely sorry if it might have came off as offensive, but really, it really wasn't. We're just kind of covering our base here.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, that was a good explanation there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we appreciate
Al-
those comments.
Also, yeah, wait, there's actually on the Smiths video, there's this guy. I'm not gonna read the whole thing because this guy, Harrison Gent or Gent.
Oh, I missed this one.
Yeah, he
Good
wrote
catch.
this a comment a day ago, and it is a fantastic assessment of the Smiths. Um, fantastic kind of summary of Morrissey and everybody else. Really interesting thought here. He says, "How Soon Is Now was called the greatest song of the '80s, and also called the Stairway to Heaven of the '80s.
Wow.
It sure is the mother of all riffs." Morrissey has done tours that broke records set by the Beatles and Michael Jackson and sold out the Hollywood Bowl. I know he broke the Beatles record time when he sold out the Hollywood Bowl. He also said this, Morrissey isn't far right, nor is he a racist. He is completely true to himself, which, as you rightly say, should be respected.
Wow.
People who don't like him mainly because they read the headline rather than what he actually said. Haha. So yeah, check out that video. Check out Harrison Gent or Gent's comment because he really has a good assessment on Morrissey and the Smiths.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for backing us up too, because we did say that. We said,
Yeah,
kind of like he should just be respected for whatever he says, but he's not a racist or anything like that. And I think people
right.
just kind of go to the clickbait kind of headline kind of thing.
Sure, absolutely. And I think when you're as big as Morrissey is in the UK and certainly parts of the United States, you're going to have that. If they can create controversy, they will. Because like this guy said, Morrissey has been the guy for a long time, and he's still obviously getting new fans, yourself included. So yeah, something to be said for that.
Yeah, it's a timeless kind of sound.
For sure.
But yeah, so that's it for the comments. So we'll get into the big part of this show.
Gosh.
And I know that you're raring to go, Dixon, on this one. I know you are.
I am so excited.
So I want you to introduce it then, because I think you deserve it on this one.
So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a little bit of background on the album too, but so listening to some of our previous videos, you might sense a pattern that Ice isn't all that crazy about the Beach Boys. And maybe that's because I wasn't delving deep enough into the catalog. I'm a Beach Boys nut, grew up on their music, have a huge vinyl collection with the Beach Boys. So I've been trying to share and kind of get Ice to turn on to some of the stuff that the Beach Boys do really well. And like I said, it could have been me not delving deep enough. So the assignment this week, we haven't done an album review in a while. That's what I thought was kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Was to listen to Friends by the Beach Boys. So, and I think that, with the title of this video, what we're going to talk about is, I think it's one of the, and there's other people to back this up, one of the most, maybe the most underrated albums of all time. So, Friends came out in 1968, and this follows several flops from the Beach Boys. You had Pet Sounds in 66, and then you had Good Vibrations. And Good Vibrations was the quickest and the highest selling single that the Beach Boys had produced. Didn't do all that well commercially for Pet Sounds, and also it was followed up by Smiley Smile, which was a rushed version of Smile. And we talked about Smile, how that album kind of fell apart. And
yes, yeah.
Right. So this is a short album, 25 minutes, really, really stripped down production. When you compare it to an album like Pet Sounds, and I think I still probably agree, total difference in the production quality, the production ideas, the concept, definitely not as complex.
Absolutely, yeah. I noticed that immediately.
Right. And it's subtle, it's calm, it's spiritual. It's lo-fi. There's elements of chill wave in there. I think that's why I kind of picked this for you.
Oh yeah.
And
I love my lo-fi.
Absolutely, and there's something to be said for that, because when this was released, everything was Jimi Hendrix, Cream, The Doors, in your face, loud. A lot of societal changes, and the Beach Boys were just kind of there with this drop of a subtle sound in the whole landscape. So their 14th studio album, and they're kind of getting really like, Capitol's getting nervous because they're not selling a whole lot of records. They're kind of living off of their 2008 album, their funding and the Beach Boys name from their previous efforts pre Pet Sounds. But it's recorded at Brian's studio at home, the Beach Boys studio at Brian's home. The last kind of album with Brian Wilson as the primary composer of this album, and Brian Wilson would have his leadership duties kind of reduce as they would go on, and it's the first album that the Beach Boys had that features everybody kind of equally. The first time that Dennis Wilson had songs on an album, which is he's the drummer and Brian Wilson's brother. And there's other things I want to mention here, but yeah, so just to kind of set it up where they're going, what they're doing. And the reason why I think this is the most underrated is that Brian Wilson considers this his favorite Beach Boys album. He considers this his second unofficial solo album following Pet Sounds. This guy, a guy from Brooklyn Vegan, which is a publication, called this the most underrated Beach Boys album. And David Leaf, who is a Beach Boys historian, said, "This has been reevaluated. I think it's one of the group's finest efforts that they've put out." So with all that being said, I handed it off to you, and I'm really excited to hear what you have to say.
Dixon, that was fantastic. That was an amazing breakdown, and we really appreciate it. But
absolutely,
I love your Beach Boys knowledge, and I just love how you're so into this band. And the thing is with Friends. Now, I want to clear this up really quick. Was this as well received initially upon its release?
So upon its release, no. There was mixed reviews. Basically, everybody said the overall was the idea if you compare the production to Pet Sounds, and you had all kinds of these fans and these critics that were anticipating Smile. I mean, back then, Smile was anticipated to be the greatest album of all time. It was going to blow out Sgt. Pepper, which was created in a response to Pet Sounds. And everybody's like, all right, this is it. And you had Smiley Smile, which was something to be said for its own right, but basically a letdown. A lot of comments on the production, how it basically was kind of against the grain of what was going on.
Yeah.
It didn't sell all that well in America. It charted well in the UK. It reached number 13. But the UK has always respected Brian and this sort of era of the Beach Boys more than America has. And I think that one of the reasons why, just logistically, is they had a few weeks after this album, they released a standalone single, Do It Again, which came out on their next album, 2020. But it was included on the foreign pressings of this album. So I think that probably had something to do with it, because that's pretty catchy. It actually goes back to kind of their roots in the early 60s. So, different things to be considered. But overall, now, modern day, when it's been reevaluated, people say, like, yeah, this is pretty good. Always has been one of my favorites to listen to. I think it's a really easy listen, and that's why I thought maybe you would take to it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with everything you said, and I'm actually surprised. I mean, we all know, it's no mystery that I have not listened to the Beach Boys, at all. I've heard a fraction of their discography, and that's just what you've given me.
Right.
But with Friends, I really actually enjoyed this album.
Wow! Yes, this is it. Everybody,
I truly did, and I think it was because I try to think of a way to kind of articulate this. I think it's definitely a simpler album than Pet Sounds. I feel like Pet Sounds, there was a lot going on. There was a lot of production, a lot of big sounds, I guess you could say. It was more like orchestral even.
Sure, definitely.
And not to say there's not aspects of it in Friends. I mean, you still have, the horns and the organ going and things like that, but it's smaller, it's more reserved, and it sounds more like what it is. It's a lo-fi kind of production. Right. I mean, that's literally what its genre is. And I think I really enjoy that aspect of it. I like the fact that it was more simple than Pet Sounds, and it really gave a window into all the little pieces of the song. You could really pick them out, and you could really appreciate like each little detail. And one of the best things I think that I liked about this is hearing a lot of the vocals. And I feel like in modern songs you don't really get this. A lot of the vocals in this were just dry. They were just like raw vocals, I guess, essentially. There was no, there's no kind of, tuning or effects over them. And I just really, for the Beach Boys, I think that really works for me when I listen to them. And
Sure.
that was probably one of the things that I appreciated most. But overall, and I think the composition of some of the songs was great. But like overall, to agree with what you said, it's an easy listen.
Right.
It's not something that's super complex or in your face. It's just I could kick back and listen to this. So I guess overall, I guess before we could get into the little songs and everything, I did it. I actually enjoyed it. Believe it or not. I mean, that's
I'm so happy to hear that. That's awesome. Right. And it's absolutely, to mention the production. I think there's something to be said for this production. And like you said, it works for you and it works with these songs and it works with the band.
mm-hmm.
You know, you think about where Pet Sounds was in at Smile. Brian Wilson was playing and using the instrument or using the studio like an instrument. You know,
Yes.
he would go to different studios to record different songs or different pieces of the same song. You know, he had this massive kind of idea where he used the studio in the production. And I also think it's kind of cool to say that you said, "Oh, the voices are raw. They're there. They're not. They're not. It's not crazy."
Yeah.
One of the things on Pet Sounds is that Brian included some of the background noise and some of the background talking. I mean, they said, "Why would you leave this in?" He's like, "Well, it's part of the experience." He goes, "It's part of the music." And there's a scene in all the Beach Boys movies. They're like, "What are you talking about? why wouldn't you take
Why,
that out?"
yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, "No, it's part of the song. Like you hear it,
Oh,
it's part of the thing."
yeah.
So you go from using like 3 or 4 different studios for one song to using a home studio for one, album. I think it's definitely a difference, as you said, and I think it works.
Yeah, and it does. And I really don't want to take away from what he did with, making it an experience, because I think that's really fantastic in an artistical sense. Like that's
Right.
I don't know. I love that kind of stuff.
Right.
It's just that, and again, this is very subjective, but I think when I listen to this kind of music, I don't want to be hit with all of that. It's simply because this isn't a genre of music that I typically listen to. So when you
Right.
listen to, Pet Sounds and Smile and like you're getting all of that like really heavy
Right.
into
Mhm.
you. Whereas again, this is simply an easier listen. I mean, I'm not taking away
Yeah.
from what he did, but
Yeah.
I mean that's a fantastic feat, and that's really an amazing thing to do, a really intelligent way to use everything. But I just love the rawness of this. Like you said, they went into a home studio and they recorded it, and that was
Right.
that.
Yeah. No, that's definitely.
That's
Yeah.
what I appreciated. One more thing
Awesome.
one more thing I wanted to say overall is to bring some little bit of music knowledge into this. There's a lot of musical tension in this songs, and I don't mean tension like anxiety or anything like that. I
Mhm.
mean, like,
Right.
I'm not patronizing you, Dixon. I of course know you know this, but there's no. It's sometimes when they're playing through the songs and it's like a chord progression, you think
Mhm.
it's going to resolve to a certain note, and there's a few songs that did this, but they keep it going, and these chord progressions are very interesting to me because they're not resolving back to, say the root note or something. It's like
Okay.
okay, like the notes progress in this way, and like your mind, whether you know it or not, your mind is looking for this note to resolve, and like it's going to sound good.
Right.
But they
Right.
just keep it. It's like an ascending kind of chord structure. I'm not really sure exactly how to describe it, but I
I'm
liked
with
the
you.
fact that they did that, and they kept it going and kept it going, and then it would resolve eventually, like at the end of the second chorus or something, or verse or
Gotcha.
whatever.
Interesting.
And yeah, no, I really like that. I'm not sure. I'm that probably was intentional that they did that, but yeah, a lot of musical tension, not a lot of resolving notes at the end of the progressions, and I personally really enjoyed that.
It's interesting. Yeah. That's something I never really realized. So that's really good perspective on there. That's cool.
Yeah, no,
Huh.
if you're
Yeah.
listening to some of the songs, you're thinking like, okay, this note's gonna turn into this. Like you might
You know where it's gonna go. Yeah. Right.
yes, you'll
I got
probably
you.
be able to pick it out. Yeah.
I'm with you.
Hmm.
No, very cool. I
Yeah.
like that.
But yeah, so honestly, I just wanted to say probably one of my favorite songs on this was Anna Lee. I feel like it kind of had like the surfer vibe and like the piano jam and rhythm in it. Um, I really appreciated that song. Do you have anything to say about that song, or like do you have any favorite songs off this album?
So Honestly, yeah, that's a really good tune. I
Hmm.
like. Let me look at the track listing to make sure I get the titles correct. Um, the opening song, "Meant for You," is, I think, is a quintessential, Brian Wilson. Now that's Mike Love is singing, but Brian Wilson wrote it.
Hmm.
I think that's a quintessential movement in what Brian Wilson would consider a symphony, would consider, you know, an album's worth of songs. I think that really sums up, I think, his thinking, from a lyrical standpoint, also where his production was heading, his production concept was heading, but also sets up the album perfectly because automatically it's going to be kind of a chill, subtle experience, and
Oh
also a
yeah.
very spiritual experience as well. Wake the World, I think, is a classic.
Yes,
Um,
yes, that was great. I
uh,
love that.
Good. I also like. And we'll get into the other ones too, but I really liked. I like Little Bird, and that's written, and it's one of the first. I think maybe the first song that has appeared on a Beach Boys album, written by Dennis Wilson, Brian's brother and the drummer, and he was kind of working on songs. They started incorporating them, and then he actually had a solo album eventually. But I think Little Bird is a pretty good Beach Boys song, and I was glad to hear Dennis Wilson on the album.
Yeah, yeah, and I wonder if, because that song kind of stuck out to me as like slightly different from the rest of the songs. I said it sounded a little
Right.
more dramatic, and it had a slightly bigger sound for this album, I guess. But I really enjoyed that one too. But I did notice that it kind of stood out. Do you think that's an after effect of him not writing it, or I'm sorry,
You
Brian
know,
Wilson's brother writing it?
yeah, it could be. There's I guess Brian Wilson was still involved in the writing there, but also the lyrics. It was written by this guy Stephen Kalinich, and we were friends on Facebook for a minute, by the way.
Oh wow! Oh
Yeah,
wow! How about that? Friend
yeah.
of the
Wish
show.
me, wish me a happy birthday.
Holy
But
crap! Wow, no big deal. That's amazing.
poet writer. So he and Brian Wilson and Dennis Wilson were collaborating to write a spoken word album. So Steve got involved in the writing there. I think probably the structure. It reads more and sounds more like a poem. Maybe that has something to do with how it presents.
Hmm.
Kind of the stanza as opposed to a lyric.
Yes, yes.
So that might be something that could translate.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I have two more songs here that I wanted to talk about. Busy Doing Nothing. I thought that was kind of like
Yes.
another kind of surfer jam, but I love the way that the lyrics were set up and the fact that he's just telling a story. I kind of love those kind of songs.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
that was really good, and probably one of my favorites off this entire album, simply because I'm I'm a jerk and I like lo-fi. It's Diamond Head, and I would be surprised if that
Oh,
wasn't sampled in
wow.
some kind of lo-fi song. It's just, it's just the
Wow.
instrumentals. It's very atmospheric, and it's almost like experimental in what they're doing. Some of the instruments they play even sounded like nature effects, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Hmm.
But I love that. It was fantastic. That was honestly, that might be my favorite song off this entire album.
I'm so I'm amazed to hear this, and I'll tell you why. Because you're gonna have your little anti Beach Boy brain blown.
Oh boy.
but, but Smile, the album Smile, whether it's the original, what should have been, or the 2004 version, the story remains the same, and it's somebody traveling from Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts. Now this is legit. I just
Well,
didn't make this up.
yeah, it sounds like you're making this up right now.
Somebody traveling from Plymouth Rock, Massachusetts, where the settlers first arrived, through the Midwest. You see the building of the railroad, you see the American West and the Industrial Revolution occur, and he lands in Diamond Head, Hawaii. And Diamond Head, the song on here is in many versions is a hangover from Smile. That should have been on Smile.
Really?
And yes, so that was and I think there's songs on Smile, the original sessions, that have that same sort of lo-fi vibe, and this I think fit in with that. And I think they're also trying to put, okay, where can we use tracks? Also going forward, you had Brian Wilson, you had Dennis Wilson and Carl Wilson sort of become the leaders after Brian keeps getting further removed from music, further removed from society.
Mm-hmm.
They're pulling stuff from Smile. They're pulling stuff from the reserves because they had written so much, and they were just kind of rushing that production for Smiley Smile. Capitol Records is unhappy. They're going to be shopping for another record label soon. So they're like, okay, well, we have all these tracks that Brian wrote. Let's just put them on there. Let's do something with them. And Diamond Head is, you could say Smiley Smile is all that, yes. But Diamond Head is the first post-Smile era that kind of appears on.
Oh, wow.
The first record post-Smile that song appears on.
That's how about that? I mean, that's kind of funny. That's one of my favorite songs on this album too. Then,
absolutely, yeah, no, it is, and like I said, it's not. I don't think it's anywhere near what it was intended to be or where it would have fit in.
Yeah.
But if you listen to some of the Smile tracks, "Cool Cool Water," different things like that, they have this lo-fi vibe on the back end. On the front end, you have a real high production value. If you're going by sides, like probably like side A is like, okay, it's in your face, it's loud, it's moving quick. The back side kind of slips into this more mellow, lo-fi, more of a reflective kind of deal.
Oh,
I think it has to do with the elements. Yeah, there's an element suite in there. I think that has something to do with it as well. When you talk about an album like that, it's like you're literally all over the place.
It really
kind of where it was going and what it is. So like I said, regardless of if that's how it was intended to be heard, that is at least a moment of inspiration from that Smile project.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, I one of my favorites too. I really like that as well. I think it's really, really quality musicianship. You still hear some of that bass harmonica. I don't think bass harmonica has ever been heard ever again.
Literally one single time, and it was on this album.
It's on Pet Sounds. It's on Spot. Like after these first couple years, these couple of years in the '60s, I don't think it's ever been heard again. So
I mean, you have to appreciate their use of all these instruments, though. That's fantastic to me. Yeah.
Absolutely. Brian Wilson plays the organ on "Meant for You." You have Bruce Johnston involved in the production. He was sort of Brian's replacement and appeared on Pet Sounds once Brian said, "Hey, I kind of need a break from touring." So you really have, this album. You kind of have all kind of members on the same plane. Even though Brian was the primary composer on this album, everybody's kind of coming into their own. They're kind of contributing their own things. And like I said before, you have Brian's influence sort of scale back up until the mid-'70s. I think 76 is when 15 Big Ones came out, and he was the primary songwriter on that album.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a changing time. Give me your overall view. Oh, I actually have a question for you. The last track, Transcendental Meditation. What did you think?
Okay, so that song, see, that was another kind of different kind of song for me. I did enjoy it though. Maybe not as
it's
much.
Kind of catchy.
It is catchy. I don't know why I just didn't vibe with it as much as the other songs though, but I still appreciated it. I'm not saying that I hated it. I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my, probably in the middle ground for this album, but
right.
But no, I did enjoy it. What about you?
So it's your absolute your this assessment of this album. Oh my god, it's spot on because it's kind of like an oddball song.
Yeah.
And Transcendental Meditation, they return members of the band joined the Beatles in India with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who was I don't know if he was the creator of Transcendental Meditation, but Transcendental Meditation is a meditation practice twice a day, 20 minutes. Mike Love got really into it and still practices it to this day. And I guess you have to be taught it. You get a mantra. It's a whole big process. You can't just say, "Oh, I do."
Yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, I do it." So that's this Maharishi guy. Yeah, I'm looking at him right now. So he's okay.
So they spent time in his ashram, and they came back, and they said that it really changed Mike Love, Carl Wilson. They felt like they were kind of refreshed, and like I said, still Mike Love still practices it to this day. And they tried to do a tour with Maharishi, and I think they only did five concerts because I guess they didn't sell any tickets, or it just didn't work out, and then Maharishi pulled out.
Yeah,
for one reason or the other.
It said they lost $350,000 in expected revenue.
Oh, jeez!
Which is pretty surprising.
Yeah, and it's I guess they were trying to once again, regardless of the intention, that was still kind of a cash grab by Mike Love because
Yeah.
you had the Beatles, you had these celebrities talking about TM, and TM still comes up in their catalog. They have several songs dedicated to TM throughout the later end of the career. They have an album MIU, which is Maharishi International University.
So
So
is this guy like a teacher or something?
yeah, like a teacher, like I said, like I don't know if he's like I don't know if that's something you can invent. Like I wanted to say he's like the
Yeah.
inventor, the creator, but maybe he's like he got the inspiration or he was taught the practice and then kind of made it like a big deal,
Yeah, like he
But he was like
carried on the
right,
teachings of it. Yeah.
yeah, he was like the guy that like kicked off the whole idea. Like Howard Stern does TM, David Lynch, Jerry Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah,
Might have to look into this.
yeah, check it out. They do. There's an actual organization, and you could actually go like it's not like you have to go to India. Like there's local teachers, I guess, around.
That is
Oh,
wow.
yeah,
I I love how this album ties into into stuff like this. Like this is
yeah, it's wild.
this is fantastic. I'm gonna
Yeah,
yeah. So
so
thanks to the Beach Boys, I'm gonna try out this TM kind of stuff. See what happens.
probably like $25,000.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like something like that, something ridiculous. But yeah, so definitely, like you said, kind of an oddball song on there. But evidently, they weren't inspired enough to write a song about it. Oh, that's what I found a quote from Brian Wilson that I wanted to bring up regarding that song. Um, he
Oh, so Brian Wilson talked about this song.
yes,
Like, I guess do you have something bad to say about it? Like, was he on board with this transcendental
you
meditation
know
with Maharishi?
all the pictures I see of them in India, I don't see Brian, and seeing the Beach Boys, the
Interesting.
modern version of the Beach Boys now. Um, Mike Love has a song Pisces Brother. It's about George Harrison and their time spent in India, and it's actually really hilarious because the lyric he says, there's Hare Krishna. So the lyric Mike Love wrote is Hare Krishna, how I miss you.
Oh,
Awesome.
oh man.
So in January, this is from Wikipedia, January 1968 interview, Brian stated that the group was unsure what their next production would be, but that it won't be very long now until I come up with a song about meditation. It shouldn't be more than a month. He also expressed an interest in pulling out of conventional sound making and getting into sounds that have never been made before ever.
Hmm.
So that was that.
That does. It's pretty interesting. I feel like
Yeah.
this whole team, like, did this throw them for a loop at all, or would they just kind of pick it up and drop it pretty quick?
I don't. It's hard to say because Mike Love and I don't know about Brian's brothers, but when they'd started Smile, he was so resistant to the lyrics that Brian Wilson and Van Dyke Parks were writing. Like, oh, this doesn't make any sense. Is this a drug song? He was so opposed to that
Yeah,
kind of thing.
yeah,
But in reality, he might have had a point that it really came down to, okay, where do you see yourself as an artist? Are you okay with yourself? Are you okay, internally? They say the fountain of happiness is inside you. So maybe there's something to be said for that. It's like, hey, are we really doing what we should be doing? Are we really, being true to ourselves?
hmm.
Now, of course, his interest was in making money and continuing the surf and the cars and the girls and everything else. And
Yeah,
Brian didn't want to do that. So, like I said, still a protection to this day. And I think that Brian Wilson had more creativity and also more issues as a result of psychedelic drug use. So one man goes on one path, one man goes on another path. It's your choice to make, I suppose.
yeah.
So yeah,
I see.
yeah,
Pretty interesting. A lot of background on this for a less well received album.
yeah.
Honestly, I
25
feel like
minutes.
yeah, I feel like there's a
Yeah,
stories behind a lot of these Beach Boys albums, which I think I think I like the history as much as the music. Honestly,
yeah.
I
It's
love that
cool.
there's like always stories behind it. It's not like I feel like when you do like a modern album, listen to something like that that's just like mass produced in a factory, you never really get these stories. It's just like they go in, they record their stuff, and that's it.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah,
And I think the bands of this era, I think they're so interesting. Like bands like the Beatles, bands like the Stones, is what they were doing had never been done. Of course,
yeah,
you had influences from artists and they borrowed and they shared, but this was it. They had to do it, and that was all.
Right. Yeah, they were pioneers of their generation, I guess you could say.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Much like this show.
Yeah. Much like this show, yeah. No one is doing this. Actually, I don't think anyone is doing what we're doing. Just a note on that.
Just excellent.
Um but yeah,
So
yeah,
overall,
yeah, overall, I would say I did enjoy this album. Now, I promised myself that I would get more objective in my rating.
okay,
So I do a
okay.
1 to 5. You could do the 0.5 in between. I think I might want to change that, Dixon. I honestly do. I think I'm going to go to a 10 system and do
Yeah,
whatever points in between that I can. So I could say like, oh, a 9.6, a 9.7, 9 point,
okay.
whatever I
Yeah, I'm
want
with
to do
you.
to the 10th decimal, right? So
I like that.
um so I'm going to say Friends, the Beach Boy album, I'm going to give it an 8.1.
That seems very high for you.
You know,
Wow.
it might be. See, I'm learning. I'm evolving into this because now subjectively, if I had to rate it, because like what I'm saying is I like what they did with this technically. I like that it's stripped down. I
Absolutely
like
right.
I like all those aspects of it. But at the same time, the composition is still there and it's still great music. But subjectively, if I had to do it, I would say a 6.8.
That seems more fair.
Yeah, and
That
I
seems
want,
fair.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
want everyone to keep in mind, for me on my scale, 5 is average, right? So
Right.
it's not like a grading scale. It's not like you got a 50% on a test and you get an F. No, it's like it's 5 is the middle, 5 is the average. So yeah, I'm gonna say 6.8. That's what I'm gonna say on that
That's
one.
really good. That's a
Yeah,
really fair rating, I think. I think
yeah,
that the 10 gives you a little bit more freedom. Now,
yeah,
where
absolutely. I was really boxing myself in a corner with that friggin' that one. I can only do 1 to 5. Yeah, so I like this better.
so if you had to do so just for reference now for the Smiths, where are the Smiths at?
Oh,
Like
okay.
Smiths, Dark Side of the Moon. Like that's your two standards. Let's go by that.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's say Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
I'm gonna say 8.1,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
and for the Smiths, I'm gonna say 8.7.
Really?
Yeah.
I think the Smiths would be a lot higher on your scale of 10.
See, it might just be because I'm getting I'm just getting used to this. Maybe we could go to a 9 to kind of differentiate there. But yeah, Dark Side of the
Yeah.
Moon 8.1. Okay, let's do that. Dark Side of the Moon 8.1, 9 for the Smiths.
Wow. Okay. That seems like it's pretty fair. That seems pretty good.
Yeah, I think I like this better. But yeah, okay. So yeah, so overall, Beach Boys Friends, I'm gonna say yeah 6.8. I'm sticking to it. What about
Sounds good.
you? What would you say?
I think I like your rating of 6. I think that's very objective and it's very fair. It wouldn't be an album I bring to like a desert island.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I think it's exactly like we said before. It's an easy listen
Yeah.
for the lo-fi production. Different elements in there. Hearing Dennis Wilson, hearing some of the different ideas they were toying with. I think a solid like 6.8 to 7 on a
Okay.
scale of 10. I think is where I would put it. I think it is a really underrated album. I think it's a very underrated album. Um, and I really like it a lot. So I think 6.8 to 7.5. I put it somewhere in there
Okay. Wow.
for
Hey,
me.
we're on the same page for
Yeah,
once in our ratings. I don't think it's
yeah,
ever
I think
happened.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
I think so too.
that's great. Yeah. No. And I could, even though I don't listen to a lot of the Beach Boys albums, I could see how it's underrated just because I think it, like you said, it wasn't as produced. It wasn't like this big
Hmm.
production. Um, so I,
Totally
I
new.
could I could understand that, but ironically for me, that's what I liked about it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
that's. How did I know this?
I know. Yeah,
had a
you
feeling.
you know me too well, I think.
We spent too much time together. I
I
had a
know.
feeling that this might be the sticking point for you. I
Yeah.
just had a feeling. Like I said, but one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about it and why I wanted you to listen to it is like I said, I think it's just a really underrated. I think a really underrated album in the Beach Boys catalog with the diehard fans, maybe rated where it should be,
Hmm.
but I think overall as an effort, I think definitely underrated.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I would
Yeah,
agree. Yeah,
excellent.
we gotta we gotta do more of these. I really like these ones where you just give me a random album that I've definitely never listened to. These are some of my favorite episodes, honestly.
Yeah, this is how we
Yeah,
got our start. This is how it was. I
yeah,
think our first review, Dark Side of the Moon. Was that our first review?
yeah. I think so.
Yeah,
It was, yeah.
and that blew your mind, man.
It
I
did.
still remember your reaction.
That really did blow my mind. I really appreciated that album. But so yeah,
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one.
yeah, I like these ones. But yeah, so yeah, maybe next week we'll have something else like that. But yeah, no, yeah, Dixon, I appreciate it. That was a good one.
Definitely. Me too.
So yeah, so now we could get into something that happened this
Oh my
week.
gosh.
Something I want to rant about here. And actually, it's more of a thought experiment. It's more of looking into your soul and thinking of what is the moral right answer to this
Yikes.
question. What is the over? How should society view this? How should it be treated legally? Even, I mean, there's a lot of implications for what we're about to talk about right
Oh my
here.
goodness. I'm nervous.
So get ready. We're doing a massive gear shift. You're gonna get whiplash for how much we're shifting here. We're going from easy listening to possible, revenge kind of porn kind of stuff. But okay.
Oh gosh. Oh
So
my goodness.
so earlier this week, a streamer that we are not associated with, his name is Atrioc, and he was subscribed to a website that can create explicit AI images. So what I mean by that is it's this thing called deepfake, and I think we all know what deepfake is. But you could take a person's face, and an AI could generate anything you want of them, even some sexually explicit stuff like porn, right? So
I've never heard of deepfake before, honestly.
really, you never? I'll have to
No.
send you some deep fake. Not, no, I'm not going to send you deep fake
no.
porn. No, I'm not gonna. But no, there's ones that this one guy I've seen people do it of like Tom Cruise or
Okay.
someone talking, and it's wild, Dixon. You will not
Wow.
believe what I send you. It's like I saw
Is it
someone do one
relative?
of Tom Hanks, and it's so believable. It's absolutely insane.
Is it like a relatively new thing?
Yeah, so for whatever reason, it seems like AI is getting like a huge bump right now. Like everyone was doing those AI generated images. That was a big thing for a
Yeah.
while through I forget the name of it now. But yeah, there's tons of AI image generators now. There's also Chat GPT. You could
I've
it's an
heard of that.
amazing
Right. Yeah.
amazing program. You could ask it we could even ask it, oh, we're talking about this in a video, what should we title it? And it would give us like a breakdown of what we should title it, what it thinks it would be the best. You could
Yeah, I've heard of that.
it could program things for you, crazy stuff. So
Wow.
AI is making a lot of strides, and now people are using it. Of course, it would lead to this. They're
Of course
using
it would.
it.
Yeah,
They're
there's no way.
using it for porn. So if you wanted to see someone that you would never be able to see nude otherwise, you could
Oh my
you
god.
could pay for someone to make a deep fake for you. So this guy Atrioc, and then this is where it gets kind of weird. This guy, he was streaming. It's a huge blunder, super embarrassing. He was streaming, and he had a tab up that had the website where he was making the deep fakes. So it said like
Oh wow.
deep fake nude explicit generator, and he was making these of his friends.
Oh my gosh.
And it was these, I don't know, probably no one knows these, but Pokimane, Maya Higa, and her name is QT Cinderella. That was another one. And he was making he made explicit deepfakes of all of these girls that he's friends
Wow.
with on Twitch.
Now,
Um,
is this guy pretty big? Like, is he popular? Does he have a following?
from what I've seen, he is quite large.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, he's pretty big. Definitely not like a run of the mill streamer. He has a lot of fans, 100%.
Okay, gotcha.
Um,
Wow, this is wild.
yeah, so he was called out for it, and then he had a big apology video. His wife came on. They were both crying. It was very awkward.
Oh my
Very
gosh.
like dude, you didn't have to go like this far with it. As far as I saw it, like he should have just came on by himself. Like them both crying was a little weird. But the weird thing in the first place was that he was making deep fakes of his friends. Now,
Wow.
to get into the moral aspect of this, it's actually kind of, because like you could have a knee jerk reaction to it, but it's kind of a an interesting discussion, as in, is this actually illegal or does it cross a moral boundary?
Yeah.
And then you could go from there. It's like, if you are doing something and something is taking your identity, this AI is taking your identity and passing it off as you, is that as bad as, you know, someone releasing nudes of you online?
Yeah.
You
Right.
know, and it's kind of an interesting thing to think about, because
Yeah.
it's not real. Okay, yeah, like it's not
Right.
real, but it looks real.
Right.
So
Sure.
you're crossing that strange line of something that's created by an AI versus something that's real. Um, so I don't know. Like, I honestly had to think about this one. I mean, I don't know if you have any idea. Like,
Yeah.
first of all, let me just say this, and I'll ask you what you think.
Okay.
This guy making deepfake porn of his friends is kind of weird. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, it's definitely kind of weird.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. 100%.
like
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
that would be like me making deepfake porn of your fiance, and you see it on my computer, like, oh, dude, sorry, like I was just curious. Like, that's
Yeah. Yeah.
weird.
It's messed up.
Yeah, so I guess we could all agree that that's messed up. That's kind of weird. The
I
funny
think
thing
it's one of
is this guy has been like supposedly against sexualizing streamers, yet he's
oh
like
my
literally
gosh, here we are.
literally doing the most that you could possibly sexualize a
Yes.
streamer. Um,
Yes.
but yeah, and the real overarching question of this is, now the one person that he generated, was, her name was QT
Oh boy.
Cinderella, and she said she wanted to sue the people that are making these deepfakes. Do you think that she has any legal standing, or do you think she should have any legal standing to do that?
I think there is something there. I think there is. I think if there's something that isn't out there, people don't want it out there for a reason, you
Yes,
know? I think that AI and that whole technology, I think it's like really a scary thing.
it
I think
is.
it's a really scary thing because I've seen things like after you mentioned the deep fake thing in the chat GP, I've seen clips where they just make like people they say these awful things, like these awful, awful things. And so I think there is. I think AI is just a really scary technology that everybody's just kind of like, oh, this is hilarious, and they're kind of abusing it. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think the problem I have with, you know, and I'm not trying to be this moralist or whatever, but at some point, you know, pornography. If you're doing AI pornography, at some point it has to not be enough. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like it has to be like, okay, well I can do this. It's how porn kind of messes up your brain, and you have this
yeah.
expectation. Especially with teens and adolescents, and they have this can lead to a warped image of women or men, whatever you're viewing. I think that AI makes that, especially when used in this context, makes that so accessible. At some point, it's
Yeah.
going to be like, okay, this isn't enough. I have to do something else. I have to take it to the next level.
Wow.
Um, I think it's, no, like you said before, I think we talked about this a little bit. BTS.
Hmm.
The other thing too is it's legal standing. I think there is something there, especially if it's disseminated and sent out there. Because
Yeah.
because I think if somebody just took a glance, maybe you wouldn't really know if it was real or not.
Yeah, yeah. See,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
right.
Just to add really quick, it's because of the fact
Yeah.
that it's indiscernible from reality. Like,
Right.
you wouldn't be able to tell that this
Right.
was made by AI. Yeah. So sorry.
Right. Exactly. No, it's
Hmm.
absolutely true, and that's what it seems like. Now, I think we've all had. I think it's biologically difficult for men to just exist platonically as friends with women.
Yeah.
Especially at a certain age.
Hmm.
Um, and maybe that's not true, but I
Well,
feel like
I honestly think, like, I think that's very true when you're
yeah.
younger.
When you're younger, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
High school, college, especially.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. 100%.
It's hard. And when you mature, you get out of that phase.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's things you can do. Um, but we've all had crushes on people, I think, right? You've had a crush on a
Oh yeah,
classmate.
absolutely.
Um, this is like taking a crush to like the worst possible level you could possibly
Yes, yeah,
ever do, right?
that's that's
Yeah,
such a good point, because it's like, okay, let's a big hypothetical here. You're like, you're a horny teen, you have a
right,
crush, and like you might be thinking these things like, oh, I want to see this girl or something like that. So
right.
she doesn't accept your advances, so you go and make a deep fake of her, and that's so
Oh my gosh.
you're essentially doing that without her consent, because
Yeah,
it is close to reality of which, that person would look like. So that's where it gets messed up, because you're kind of
right.
violating consent, as in these things are so close to reality that you can't tell, and if someone looked at it they would think it was actually them. So it kind of ties into like revenge porn stuff. Like there's laws actually against that you can't post
Right.
people's nudes, because it's essentially violating their dignity, violating their right to privacy. um
100%.
so that's kind of exactly what deepfakes are doing. At least that's the
Yeah,
way that I see it. But yeah, like you said, I think this leads down a really bad path.
absolutely, 100%. Like you said, the whole consent issue is huge. I mean,
Yeah.
there's been I think it's a little extreme, but there's been discussions are crushes violating consent, are things like that violating consent, a little extreme. But
Yeah.
if you're talking in the context of this, where you can violate somebody through
Yeah.
artificial
Like,
means, that's a whole different issue. Like I said, I think it's there's no good way that this ends up. I don't think it's constructive at all. I don't think it's innocent. I think it's bad stuff.
yeah, I totally
Yeah,
agree. And
yeah,
just to tie it up, I think that these people that are going after these sites that do this, and these people that do this, I think they have every right
right.
to sue, because again, you're doing something without their consent. Now, and like this was actually brought up in a video that I watched. It's like, well, what if there's like parody porn actors that like look,
Right.
they look like a celebrity or something, and then they post it. It'll say like, so and so does what, you know what I'm talking
Right.
about. Yeah.
We've seen the
Yeah,
footage,
we've seen
unfortunately. Yes.
we've seen it, but the fact of the matter is, we know it's not them. We know it's just like a parody actor that just kind of looks similar. So I think in that way,
That's a really good point too.
it's whatever, because it's not taking your identity. It's just someone kind of acting as
That's a really
that
good point.
person. Yeah. So
Yeah.
and that's
Remember,
no, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna. No, sorry. I was gonna say. Remember, Sarah Palin had that whole
Yes.
thing with
Yes.
Joe the plumber and everything else. Like that was a whole series. I feel
Yeah.
like. And so that, like you said, that's a good point. But if it's, I think it's different with like your buddies. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Right. Interesting.
Yeah, 100%. So yeah, I think overall, Atrioc is weird for doing this. And I'm not saying that we're not human. I'm not saying that you can't find someone attractive, and like,
Right.
you could, people have fantasies and stuff, but to go to this extent, I think is a little much, especially if they're your friends, and he's getting a lot of backlash for it. But no, and I think deepfake, especially in the explicit sense, is going to get to a dangerous level, and I think we're just seeing the
Yeah.
beginning of it. I think this is going to I don't think this is going away. I think it's probably going to be rampant unless there's some kind of laws against it, but I think
Yeah.
people are just going to have more and more access to this to do whatever things they want to with it, nefarious or not. So I
100%.
am
Let me ask you a question to
Oh yeah,
sum
yeah,
this
go
up.
ahead.
Now, if you're say no, this isn't true,
Hmm.
but say my fiance had an OnlyFans,
Yeah.
right? And you subscribed without my knowledge. Is this is I guess these are totally different things because once again, she would be, or maybe you subscribe to my OnlyFans. Let's just say
Yeah.
that.
Okay, yeah,
Anybody wants to see my OnlyFans, please run to the nearest
yeah.
psychiatric hospital you
Oh,
could possibly get to. If I ever
oh
had
man,
an
I'm
OnlyFans,
sure you'd have some subs, you know.
so, you never know. Whatever.
You never know. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I
Yeah,
think that
Dixon's a great OnlyFan name, by the way. I like.
that is a really
Yeah,
that
that
is a
is
really
good.
good that is a good OnlyFans name. Um, to me, that's because there's this controversy over you see the reels, you see the TikToks.
Hmm.
Oh, my brother's best friend subscribed to my OnlyFans, or he subscribed to my OnlyFans. If he knew that he subscribed, they would flip out.
Yeah.
When once again the issue of consent there is this sort of the same thing if you're kind of keeping it a secret. If you're subscribing to an OnlyFans, once again, now they're putting it out into the stratosphere. You have the consent of the creator to
Yes.
subscribe, but that seems just as bad if you're like, oh, I want to see what my buddy's GF looks like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now, granted, go ahead.
Oh no, no, no. No, I was just
Yeah,
gonna say, like, I guess we could break it down into two ways to look at it. Like,
right,
I think yes, like again, that it would be weird for you to do that, but
right,
it's totally different in the fact that they're putting this stuff out there
right.
for anyone to access, and that's, I guess that's just like the name of the game. I mean, they might be upset that someone subscribed to it, but again, it's essentially public behind a paywall. So
Right.
I don't know if you have, I don't know if the creator has a right to get upset. Like, yeah, they could think it's weird, but
Right.
I don't know. But again, like if it was like your fiance or something, yeah,
Right.
that'd be weird. It'd be like, why are you subscribing to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's like an interpersonal kind of thing. I think that
It
depends on the
is. Yeah.
relationship you have with someone. But
Sure, it does.
yeah, yeah. Sorry. So yeah, what were you gonna say after that?
No, just because that was about it. I was going to say, I think the worst thing we had as a society was like, the Snapchat nude.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, the
Yeah,
infamous Snapchat, the
yeah,
5 second, and then it's gone.
yeah, and
Yeah,
like it's always like, oh, well, let's send nudes, and no matter what, say we're talking in the context of binary, straight female male.
yeah, yeah,
The best thing that the woman could hope for is just a D pick, because
yeah. That's
in
the
reality, what could you possibly do, as a man?
yeah. Unless the guy has, I guess, like a 6 pack,
Yeah,
which like
right.
0.1% of the male population even has. So like,
Yes.
yeah. But besides that, that's kind of it.
Yeah. Besides that, so the whole song and dance with that, it's created this whole thing where it's like, now in reality, in this context of a relationship, it kind of like could be like a sacred thing, right?
Hmm.
It's a sacred thing, and if you're not an asshole, you won't pull revenge or share it, or
Yeah.
whatever, put it in the cloud. But I think it's created this whole idea that it's never enough. It's never enough. Like,
Yes.
oh, send me nudes, or send me this, or whatever. It just gotten so crazy, and now you can do basically whatever you want through AI to kind of satisfy that urge. You
Yeah.
know?
And I think again that goes directly back to what you said about the access of like Pornhub to everyone. It's the
Oh
fact that
my gosh.
it's making people worse and worse. Like if Pornhub wasn't around, people would just it'd be missionary. Like that's it. Everyone would be satisfied. No one be doing any like crazy.
Yeah.
You might be like some kinks here or there, but I don't.
Right.
I think like people just crave more and more the more that you feed yourselves into this. Like
100%.
yeah, I'm not a big fan of I mean, people do whatever they want. I don't care. You could make the stuff, you could enjoy it or whatever, but I really do think that it has an effect on you, especially if you're consuming
Yeah.
a lot of it constantly. I think it does mess with you.
But that's like the new concept of like what is it, the Coomer?
Yeah, Coomer brain.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
it's like it's really the truth. And if you look at the
Yeah.
stats on how like websites, how they had to get to a certain plateau to reach like 1 million subscribers or 1 million users.
Mhm.
Pornhub, they've accomplished it in record time,
Yeah.
and I think it's a certain realm of society. I think younger people, they're consuming this, they're getting these warped concepts, and it's really just where does it end? When is it ever enough? And obviously,
Yeah.
this AI is the next level of it, and it's kind of like a scary thing.
Yeah, it really is, and unfortunately, I hate to end on a bad note, but I don't think that it's going to get any better unless there's something
No,
put in place for this. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see what
truth.
happens. I mean,
Yeah, great.
it's,
That's like good.
no, I was gonna say, like, this is a very, like, recently developing uh
I mean,
like in
it's already
industry.
there. People are
Yeah, no,
using
yeah,
it, and
yeah,
they're
you're right.
catching this. It's amazing.
And it's already. I mean,
Yeah,
imagine in like 10 years what it's gonna be.
yeah.
I can't even imagine.
Like the incel community. Can you even be like an incel anymore? Like in reality,
Yeah,
if you have access to this kind of stuff,
I guess
like in
not.
reality, yeah. Oh my god, it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
When you mentioned this, and I kind of I looked into it. I was shocked at how people noticed his tabs so quickly. You
Oh
know?
my God, yeah. When
Yeah,
you're see that, and that's another thing. Like, if you're ever streaming, I mean, this
yeah,
guy does it so much, so he probably didn't even think about it. But I think you gotta, like, bulletproof your computer. Like, don't pull any personal documents. Like, go
yeah.
in your incognito mode, so like your tabs and history aren't coming up. Like, all that kind of stuff. I feel like you gotta keep on point. But I guess he just took a huge L on
He's
that one, as the kids
yeah,
say.
really,
Yeah,
for sure. Not
yeah,
keeping it 100.
yeah. But yeah, to what you said, viewers, like, especially the parasocial ones, they will pick apart probably every little thing
Right.
that is on your computer screen for sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
amazing.
Yep.
What a society.
Tell me about
I
it.
love it.
uh, but yeah, so, well, guys, hey, if you made it this far, we really appreciate you watching. This has been one of our longer episodes, so thanks for sticking with us, guys. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely an in-depth review, and also we talked about some of the ills of society. So
Yeah.
yeah, drop a comment if you want to hear Ice listen to something. You have an idea for a show. Your thoughts on all the things we talked about. Drop a line. We'll as Ice mentioned before. We always mention our subscribers, our commentators, so you have the potential to be exposed to dozens, up to 1 dozen people.
Up to and including one dozen.
1 dozen people. And that's not really true. We have a lot of great viewers out there, a lot of great subscribers.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
really cool.
No, we do. Yeah, we're picking up steam here, and we appreciate every last one of you guys. So yeah, we'll be hard at work thinking of topic for the next episode. But guys, keep it locked in here on Records and Rants with me and Dixon, and we will see you guys next week.
Peace.